Hello and welcome to the Stover Farm channel. I'm so glad to have you here with me, and we're going to do two things in this video. First, yes, we're going to build a farm. But second, I'm going to show you what I think is one of the best mods that isn't a mod in the game. It's built into the game, but it adds so much realism, and all you have to do is think about your map differently. This is the starter farm on Riverbend Springs, and I'll be honest, I hate it. I think it's terrible. I don't like the way it was laid out. It seemed kind of clunky, at least in comparison to what FS22 was over on Elm Creek. So I fixed it. Well, at least I think I have, and you've got to think about this in a completely different way. I have turned everything that should be dirt, into arable land. I took out everything that was painted, at least as best as I could. And I did that with really anything in the game that will allow you to create fields. You've seen this before. You're taking, smaller fields, you're joining them together. That's simple. But what you haven't seen is this, where I'm actually going in and I am creating fields right up next to the house, right up next to the barns, right up next to, any decorative item that is there. I've taken out all the trees, and I did do that with EasyDev and the Delete Objects mod, but I do believe console, we now have the Tree Be Gone mod, which I think is for you. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but I think you now have a way to get rid of trees fairly quickly. I just happened to use EasyDev and got rid of them with the touch of a button. So, what do we have? Well, we've still got a little bit of work to do here, and what I recommend is you go in and you purchase down in the forestry settings, you get this big TMC Kenkella, and you make sure you have a tractor that has enough horsepower. In this case, I've got the Fendt Vario 1050, and I am going to go hook up to the front 3-point hitch on this. The beauty of this mulcher, it is for trees, so you could destroy trees with it. I think you can probably do the same thing with the Tree Be Gone mod, because it kind of functions the same way. I think it just deletes the trees faster than this. But if you are operating this piece of equipment and you turn it on and it touches the ground, anywhere it touches the ground, and I've already created a field here. Let's go somewhere where I can show you this. Anywhere this touches the ground, it creates a field. So let's drop it down. See, it creates a field, and it creates a field in reverse and in forward. So you can really now start to come in and get some of the areas that your cultivator with the create field option on couldn't get. And you can create fields with a ton of implements. They can be, plows, cultivators, you name it. I do recommend pulling, raising this implement as you're moving across your map, because the stock speed limit on it is very, very slow. But for this right here, so again, I want to get this, and I want to be very, very precise with this. It's almost like you are painting, but you're painting now with creating fields. And I'm going to just take this up to a point where I want to stop. There we go. And you're asking, Stover, what in the world are you doing? This makes no damn sense. You've lost your mind. Well, the thing that I have found is that the painted textures do not have enough ground deformation for my taste. FS25 has excellent ground deformation on fields. It also has completely different physics for your vehicles when you're driving on tillable land, land that has been turned into tillable land, versus just the painted roadways or the painted mud. You just do not get the same amount of ground deformation or changes in physics. You can actually see it as I'm driving here. We're creating ruts. I want that everywhere, because think about a farm. If you want ultimate realism, there are no boundaries between, paintable. There's no paintable land in a real farm. It's all just arable land. You have to obviously, go in and till it up, cultivate it, do whatever, but it's all dirt. And that means when it rains, things get very muddy. When it snows, things are very difficult to drive in. And by doing this, you create a significant, I believe, increase in realism. So I'm just going to finish this up. I'll be right back. And I've made those little small, precise cuts with that mulcher, and what you're left with is this. Now, I want to make one thing clear. You can no longer go in and use the raise and lower tool, because it's going to change this land back into a painted surface. You can use the smoothing tool, so you can still go in and smooth things out. But if you use this, so this is the raise tool, see, it completely gets rid of your land. You'd then have to go back in, and you'd have to then create that field. Oops, I should probably drop it down. There we go. Turn on create fields, and it's simple to overcome. But just realize, if you want to have changes in elevation, you likely want to do that first before you go in and till all the land. And again, like I said, you can still use the smoothing tool. So right there, that little bump, we don't want that bump right there. We can use the smoothing tool. We just can't use the raising and lowering tool. Okay, so now you're like, this is boring. How are you going to create a cool farm out of this? Well, we're going to do this together, okay? And we're going to make this very, very simple. And I think that this is something that you could do on console as well. It's one of the reasons why I've chosen to use this particular map, Riverbend, because, again, it's the base game map. It's everywhere. And realize that you can do this on any map. You just have to, again, think differently, that you're going to first create your fields, your entire farm as a field. And then we're going to go in and we're going to actually put the buildings down. Okay, now, what am I going to do? I'm actually going to come in and I'm going to grab grass. And I'm just going to paint grass everywhere. Now, this is the paintable grass, the meadow grass. And what this is doing, it is just putting grass down, but it's still keeping my field under there. But from, an angle down here on the ground, you cannot tell. It looks very much like you've got, painted grass or the painted layer underneath it. So we're just going to go in and paint all this in here. And you're going, oh my gosh, once again, Stover, you've lost your mind, because where are my fields? Well, remember, there are no, on a real farm, farmers don't have, identified fields. They don't have, field 1 and field 2 and field 3 that has these clear, concise boundaries. We're going to make our fields wherever the heck we want them. It's one big field. We're going to plant wherever we want. Now, yes, you're going to lose the ability to have a helper. But, on a farm this size, I don't really think that matters. You're going to need to be very cautious on how you're cultivating, on how you're tilling, because if you've got a drive area, You know, you planted a certain location. You're not going to have clear boundaries between your field and, say, your grass area. So you just have to be careful. But again, I think it adds significantly more realism to the game. Now, I did delete all the buildings that I could delete. And this, again, being Riverbend Springs, I just started the game as a beginner farmer. I used the starter farm, so I took the starter farm, and in doing so, it bought the land for me. And I was able to delete like most of the buildings. I was able to sell them actually, so I did get some money for it. But there's some you can't sell. Like I couldn't get this house to sell. So we're just not going to worry about that. We're going to use that as our house. And we're just going to continue coming in here and adding this grass. And the reason why, again, I'm adding this grass is I don't want... I do not want to see just everything being that field state. I want it to look realistic, and I'm going to come back in and we'll create our driveways. And the way we'll create our driveways, we're actually going to use implements. So this again, the goal of this, I think, is to add realism to the game. Slowing down. In one of my last videos, I talked about slowing down, not using all of the, the pre-built mods that make things, store deliveries and time changes, just slowing down the game a little bit. And I think you can actually have more fun. This is part of the game, too. We always assume that, well, to play the game, you have to be in farm mode. You have to be building, operating your farm. No, we're playing the game right now. We're having fun. This game, as I've mentioned in the past, is like 4 different games in one. You've got the map editor, you've got the actual farm mode, you've got a dealership mode that you can operate in. So it's so many games in one. All right, we're almost there, and I contemplated even showing you all of this, but I figured I would, because this can get kind of boring. And again, we're prepping the field area before we start. There we go. Before we start the build. So now we come out, we jump out, and if you look at this, so we're just, it doesn't look, again, you would never know we're on tilled land. It looks, there's a soccer ball. I deleted the trees. I guess that soccer ball was in a tree. I have no clue if you can get rid of that or not. Maybe you can. But I added, just grass everywhere. And again, this looks pretty crazy, pretty dumb. But now we're going to start building the farm. And I do recommend, so keep some of these implements out, because you likely might need them as you're working, because there are going to be instances where when you... Oh, I still have that thing set to create fields. When I dropped it down, it created a field. You likely might need to come back in and as an object has been dropped down, it paints an area that you don't want painted. And that's where I'm probably going to use this big mulcher, because that's going to be so precise. Right there. There was a map in 22. In fact, I think it was the map that I love the most. No Man's Land, Alien Gym, where he allowed you to actually paint field land, which is awesome. And then you would basically not have to do any of this. You just paint your field. I'm not smart enough to make that happen, though, so I am just doing it this way. Okay, now we're gonna make this farm better, because again, I do not like this farm. I do not like this farm, and you can actually see it. So if you come really high, you can see that that's still tillable land. Okay, so we come down. I don't Okay, let's put, I think first we'll animals. So I do like cows. And I'm going to try to stick with mods that are all platform. I'm going to try. If I if I don't succeed, I do apologize. I did have the shop. Again, I contradicted myself. I had the shop deliveries mod on over there. I'm going to put that over there because it was in my way. I had to do that mainly because, again, if I didn't, this would take forever and you would absolutely hate me. So, okay. So, this is a cow barn. And this has a pasture that will go with it that we can customize. And I should probably get my tractor out of the way because I think I'm going to put the pasture out where this tractor is. I don't have my run fast mod on, so I'm running kind of slowly. A little slow here. Stand by. Let me jump in this tractor. Pull that up. Here we go. Move this out of the way. And you can see by stopping it, you can turn that off with Y. So now it's just going to do fields that already exist. So we'll move this over here. We could even take this way. We're sliding way over here. And park it there. Interesting. Weeds. I forgot to mention that. That's another cool thing about having this. You can get weeds everywhere, and you actually have to maintain your land. All right, back into the build mode. Here we are. So we're going to use this, and I'm going to kind of play around with things being tight. I like it where, the base map. Again, everything, I felt like there was stuff everywhere, and there were trees everywhere, and there were these 3 fields. I did not like it. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to really try and keep things tight so that you've kind of got to maneuver a little bit as you're driving your tractor. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the flattening mode, or the it's the toggle free mode. I'm going to actually turn it on because I want as little of the ground to go from the tillable land to the painted land as possible. And when I drop this down, let's put that right there. It's going to ask me if I want to add. So yes, now we can add our pasture, and let's just bring our pasture like there, and maybe to there. We'll bring it up to there. We'll come over. And we'll say yes. Now, so what that did was it laid down the barn. But you can see there's certain areas where it painted for me. And it's okay, I guess. It's really not going to be a huge problem. But what I can do now, and again, this is where what we're doing, it's taking a little bit more time, is you can come back in and you can get rid of that painted area with the mulcher or another tiller or something like that. So there's our cow barn. We're going to keep the house. Now let's come in. Let's put a shop in here. And I'm going to make this, again, a very, very simple farm. This does not need to be anything crazy. We've got cows. We now need a shop. And there's a really neat shop that came out, Shed with Office. I believe this is all platforms. I really like the look of this, and you can change the color of it. Let's see here. I want to change the color of this. Let's just go with red because that's what the color of the cow barn is. And let's put this right here. And I'm going to toggle free mode on because I want as little of the ground to change as possible. And we'll put that right here. Nice. Now we need probably a bin site of some sort. Again, keeping this really, really simple. We're a little low on money. I'm going to add some money. I am going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to use my console command. I'm going to go money add, and I'm just going to add $1 million. There we go. If you're on console, you could just add some of the subsidy mods, and then you can run the time through to get more money. Let's grab some type of silo. Again, we'll try and keep it base game stuff here so that, you know, I think that's a base game. That is not a base game silo. That's a really cool silo. I love it. But that's not base game. Let's see here. That would work. Yeah, let's put that right back here. Just like this. Again, I'm going to hit B because I'm going to turn off the free toggle free mode. I guess it's on. So again, now it's going to go anywhere I put this down. We're going to put this right there. And again, it's limiting the amount of leveling. It's limiting the amount of repaint that it's doing because I want to maintain that land that is the arable land. Let's go into factories because we have animals. We would probably need some sort of harvestor. Let's see if we can find something that'll work. Try to find something base game, or at least all platforms. I think this is a modern animal food for cows. You get TMR. You could do something like this. This would be fine. I don't typically use this. It might be difficult to do because you've got to like dump on one side and fill from another. I want to be able to just dump and fill from one side. I might not have anything that's all platform that'll make this work. Maybe these are? No, that's not going to work either. What should we do? Those fill from that side. Okay, here's what we can do. So we can put these right here. So I believe these are small stave silos. What we can just do is this. We can put a line of them right here. So you're going to fill from one side, and you're going to then load from the other. So again, we'll turn that on. Toggle free mode is on. You see what it did there? It really kind of... It messed me up. But we're going to fix that. Don't worry. We'll put another one right next to it. Okay, and maybe a third. We'll put a third there. Because these are small. I don't think these hold a ton. Just like that. There we go. Very, very nice. Now, do we have enough? We might need some other type of implement storage here. So let's see if there's anything I can put in shed-wise that can just help me store some implements. Nothing crazy. Something very, very simple. That is all platform. I think these are all platform. That's a little wide. But that would work. Kind of. It's a little too big. Wish that was like half the size. Let's see here. What can I find? Oh, these are part of the old, medium, old sheds pack. Yeah, this could work. This could absolutely work. Old school carport. That could work too. I'm trying to get something that, you know, I can park some implements in. Let's see, can I change the color? Yes, I can. Let's change that. Yeah, let's use this. So let's put that right here. Toggle free mode, once again, is on because I want to limit as much as possible. There we go. Okay, like that's basically the farm. That's all you need. Now, this is the fun part. So now we need to actually come in and we need to create our driving paths. How in the heck are we going to do that? Well, good you asked. We should probably fix this area first. So let's go back. Let's grab this guy and let's disconnect from this big, massive Salford. And let's grab the what we were using, which was the mulcher. Where'd I put that darn thing? I think it's over here. Maybe. Did I put it behind? Where'd I put the mulcher? Oops. Where the heck did I put that darn thing? It is over there. I see it. So let's go grab this. And what I want to do now, I want to fix some of those areas where by adding the barns, adding the placeable items, it repainted my land. So I just don't want that. So like right here, I want to turn this on. Boom, boom. I'm going to come back in here and turn this back into arable land. Because again, I want that. I want all the mud. I want all the ground deformation. I want all the stuff that comes with having this in this state. Okay. And this thing is very, very precise. You can almost paint with this mulcher. It's a very, very cool product. It does take some horsepower, so make sure you've got a piece of equipment that has some horsepower with it. There we go. You can almost kind of see what we're going to be doing here shortly. We're going to be doing this exact same thing to create our driving paths. Okay, so I got that done. Now I'm going to come back in, and a lot of this is, again, this is where things do get tedious. So this is kind of like an advanced build option here for folks, because there's a lot of, you do a step and then you repeat a step, and you just go back and forth and back and forth. But I think it's really satisfying when it's all said and done, because it really does just add that extra bit of realism to the game. Okay. Still going to come in here. We're just going to put that grass all the way up. And it is good to note, you do not have to use... I missed a little spot right there. That's okay, though. You don't have to use the tall meadowgrass. You can use the shorter meadowgrass, and that'll come into play here shortly. But again, we're just using meadowgrass for this. There we go. We're just gonna go ahead and do all of that. And you still can come in and add other types of plants. So you can come in here with any of the base game plants. And if you want to start adding, a little bit of decorative, because this is the way farms are, folks. There's stuff everywhere. On a farm, there is no such thing as like beautiful, striped grass. Maybe there are a few farms that way, but most of the times, like there's stuff all over the place. And by adding these, it's not doing anything to that land. So the land is still there. It's still got my dirt underneath it. Okay, and we can put trees down. But we're going to focus on that in just a minute, because we need to create now our path. Now, here's what you can do, because we're going to use that mulcher once again to create this path. If you need some type of visual line to help you with your path, you could come in and repaint here if you would like. So just come to something that is, fairly contrasty to what is on the ground. And you could come in now and paint. So I think this would probably, I would probably do this to about there. I would probably have this come out like this. And this. And again, I'm just doing this as a method to help me with the mulcher that I'm going to bring through. And that would come around like so. Because this is destroying what I've already done. And this would probably come around like this. Isn't there a... Yeah, there's a path to get out there. So we would probably... we'd probably do like this. Boom. We'd probably have a little path in there. This would come out like this. And we'd run a path through here out to the main gate. Like that. We might use this. And again, this doesn't have to be precise at all. I'm just using it as a reference. All of that would probably be done. I might have something come through here, because this is gonna be field out here. And yeah, maybe then we have that come out like that. So that'd be nice. So now, okay, so we've got our template. We're now back into the tractor. And now I'm going to actually carve out. And you could do this with anything. You could use a cultivator. You could use... I'm using this because it's so precise. And I am going to probably turn this into fast time lapse here for you. I try not to do that, but this thing goes so slow, I think you would hate me. So here we go. right, a new day, and you can see why I had to time-lapse that, because it took forever. Actually ran me into the night. But this is what we have. And you're saying, Stover, what in the world? Why didn't you just use the eraser for the grass? Because you can, if you're looking at painting, and in this particular instance, I am using a mouse, and I can come in here and I can still paint more. But if I use my right mouse button, I can delete. And you would think, well, I can just easily delete. Well, no, it removes everything, and that just is not acceptable. Now, I'm not going to bore you and redo that. I'm just going to paint back over that little area because it's not going to really matter. But if there is anything in here that you didn't like as you're building, you can just kind of come in and you can add a little more grass. You can kind of shape just a little bit. You got to be careful though. Don't delete, because you'll have to go in and get rid of, or you have to get your mulcher back out, or your field cultivator, and create those fields once again. Now, something like this bothers you again, you can just run a line like this. You can be as precise with this as you would like. Like, that would annoy me, so there, we'll do that and take care of that. Okay. Why in the world did I do this? Well, you can see why I've done it. Look at all the tracks now. It's awesome. Concrete now starts to make sense because it actually will help you. So there would likely be a concrete pad right here. So I'm going to go into the painting menu, and I'm going to add a little bit of concrete right here at the front of this. And I'm going to be very careful. Yes, this is getting rid of what I just did, but it's helping me. So this is very realistic to an actual farmyard. You would probably have some type of concrete pad like this. And now that's going to help you. In fact, it might even come out just a little bit more, because if you were washing or you're doing service to your vehicles, you would have that out there. And now this is actually going to help you. Just like that. And you could realistically do, you could put a pad. Well, why isn't that working? Okay, the game sometimes is just wonky. I have to go a little further out like that. Same here. Maybe you would have a little pad there. Maybe you would have a little pad here. I don't know. It's up to you. You make those decisions, because now you've got divots and you've got ruts and you've got mud, and it's not raining right now, but when it does rain, and I'll show you in a moment, things get a little interesting. Now, how are we going to play this map? What would you do? Well, it's, you've got cows, so you're going to need some form of silage, and you're going to need some form of straw. So the way I would play this map, I would probably put like hay or wheat wheat or oat over here, so that you can get straw. You can make straw. I would then run this like your pasture to actually cut, to get proper silage into those harvestors. And you can come back in here now. We deleted all those trees, and maybe you want to add some trees back in. That's absolutely fine. Like, I would probably come in here, and I like my farmyards to be kind of isolated from the surrounding area, so I would probably come back in here like this and put some of these trees in like that and just hide that. Maybe make this a little smaller. Put a couple small ones in here like this. Boom. Maybe grab a couple of, like, an oak. Put a nice oak in here. Oh yeah, love a good oak. There we go. Smaller oak. Maybe a couple of American elms, like that. Just, kind of adding back. Again, what we took away, we're adding back. And I might even do the same thing over here. Maybe, maybe not. Again, it is completely up to you. This is where you get to start to have some fun with this. So if this were pasture out here, again, we would need to cut this with a mower of some sort. Well, maybe we would want to have it fenced off. So, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So let's go ahead and grab some fencing. There's a ton of different fence out there. A lot of base game fence would work. This is a really nice pasture type fence that I believe is base game. The one I love and come back to time and time again, and it is not an all platform fence, is this right here. It looks so nice. And it is available on itch.io. I forgot the modder's name. I do apologize. But I absolutely love it. And, you know, maybe we would come like right here. And then they've got these beautiful gates. Switch segment type. So let me come in and put a dual gate like right there. Nice. Gate there. And maybe we would run this to there. And maybe this would then come to here. And then maybe another gate would go in here. And see, that's almost perfect sizing right there. It's going to let me... I might have to fib this just a little bit. Maybe I could put a small gate right there. Maybe it's like a triple gate. There's like a equipment path, and then there's a little person gate right there. That'll work. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Kind of dig that. Let's see here. We would probably need to come over here and... develop our boundaries. And you don't have to run this like grass. You could plant anything you want to in here, and you don't even have to follow the area of the field. It just, again, I'm going to probably go up to the point where I can't go any further. Like, it's not going to let me over there because I don't own that land. I'm going to do that, and I'm probably then going to square this off. Like this. Over to here. Run this through here. Then we got to think about what we want to do here. So maybe up to like there. And over. To right there, and then we'll put one of those double gates in. Oops, I don't like that. How can I fix that? Let me go into delete last. There we go. Let's bring this to about there. Now, see, I don't like that now. All right, let's do what we did last time. Let's see if it'll work for this. So there's the little person gate. And then a dual gate. Yeah, that worked. I don't know, I just thought of that just now. I've never done that before. And can we then close this out? Yeah, I could do that, like right there. Okay, so now we've got our pasture out there. That's what you're going to actually cut and create hay for. Again, don't worry about that soccer ball right there. That's just, again, I have no clue if you can get rid of that. And then I would plant something over here that you can get straw from. Because in the base game, when you buy the starter farm, you get these fields here and you get this here. But now these fields are gone, although they're technically still there. But they're not. Now, we want to do something in here. We want to make this a little more realistic. So let's paint a little. Let's do a little bit of painting. And we're going to paint some... why is that? There we go. I was in the wrong bin. We're just going to paint some lines in here. where cows have been. Following this fence. Nice. Yeah, nothing too crazy. And really, like, that's the farm. That's it. It's so simple. But now, okay, I usually stop here and I'm like, here's the farm. We're actually going to go in here and just show you why this is so cool. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make it rain. So I am going to cheat here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say that it is raining. So now it is raining. Now this is getting all nice and muddy. Yes. And now let's say we'll go out over here and buy something. I'll open this pasture up and I'll buy it out here. And that's going to open. And I'm going to use the store delivery mods because, again, this would take forever. Let's purchase a truck. Let's get the good old international. Let's do day cab. Shorten it up. That's fine. Nothing crazy there. We're going to buy that. Yes. Okay, now let's grab a semi-trailer. And we'll just use... we'll use this Load King. I think these are all base game. Again, just trying to show you that everything, this all works for base game stuff. Let's buy that. Yep. Okay. Now let's hook this up. And fortunately, the ground is continuing to saturate itself. And you may already see what's happening because I'm already seeing it. I'm gonna get this out of here before I actually load it up. Because I really don't want to get stuck just yet. But you're gonna notice a couple things. First and foremost, difficulty driving already. Like, it's not putting the power down as easily as it should. It's also getting muddy. Things are getting muddy, and look, we're leaving a lot of tire tracks. But things get more interesting when you load it down. All right, let's just maybe we'll stop right here, and we're going to go ahead and load this up. So I'm going to hit F12. Again, I apologize. I am using these cheat options. Let's fill it full of something really heavy. Now let's just do corn. Why make this more difficult than it needs to be? Full trailer. Okay. We should start to really start making some ruts as we're driving on this. And yes, you can see we are. And you can see as I stopped, it's sinking. And you can imagine as you play more and more, you actually see where it stopped right there, and it really made a divot. But you can see as I'm driving, we're making ruts. On hills, this is a fairly flat piece of land. On hills, it can be very difficult to drive. I mean, you need to plan out your if your farmyard has a lot of elevation changes, you need to plan out your drives. You just need to be careful. In fact, we might even be able to show you that if I come over here. We try to go up this little hill fully loaded. It might not make it up. So if we stop, you can see it sinking. Nah, it made it up. It just fine. It's not that big of a hill. But I do have to use low gear to get up and out of it. And you can see as I stop, it sinks into the ground. Now, there are some, for you PC folks, there are some ways, you can actually see how much deeper it got right there. There are some ways to change how much ground deformation you get. You could increase it, and you can make it significantly more. And again, on very hilly types of farmland, it can be extremely difficult. There we go. There's a little bit of tire spin for you. Because the rain, again, it's continuing, so we're getting a nice, messy farmyard. So that's why I've done this. I think it adds just a really awesome amount of realism to the game. You could then come in and you could, if you wanted to, lay down gravel. That can help with traction. So many different options that you can have. But now it's fairly farm-like because things are getting messy. So that's it. Again, this is not a complex build. Really, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items that we put down. But it was all the prep ahead of time of clearing the land, tilling all of the land, making it, all areable land, going in and then creating our drive paths with that mulcher, and then adding areas like we want with concrete right there for that. Another example, maybe again, maybe this was too difficult right here to get up. Well, okay, you could install some concrete right there. So come to concrete, and, if we're going to use this, and we're now going to, paint. We're now painting concrete back in here. In fact, I think it's painting this is probably a bad example, because it's now painting the decal that was there, but that's fine. You kind of get the idea of what I'm saying. We tilled up the decal, now we're painting the decal back in, and I really didn't need to do that, but you get the idea. So now I can maybe get up that slope a lot easier that we've got that. So give it a try. Again, this is more of a hack than a mod. And it's built right into the game, but it can give you some really ultimate realism. And out here you're going, oh my gosh, well, where are my fields? Well, you can plant anywhere in here. You're not going to just plant in a field. You could plant corn out here. You could plant oats. You could plant anything you want. Just remember, it's one gigantic field. You just got to be very careful where you're planting. In this particular instance, if I were to play this map, I would just use this as my, pasture land to get hay, and I would use this over here to get my straw. So there you have it. We're stuck in the mud on Riverbend Springs. I hate this starter farm, so we made it, I think, significantly better by just thinking a little differently about how you play the game. As always, I thank you so much for joining me today on this build, and we'll see you next time right here on the farm with the Stovers.